Hey everyone, just before I start this video, I do apologise for the sound quality in this one. I've accidentally recorded it on a different microphone and unfortunately I only realised it right after I'd done all the recordings for this one. Apologies for that, but hey, just enjoy it for what it is and yeah, we'll see how we get on. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of videos. Today we've got loads and loads of puzzles to have a look through today that come from the daily chess.com puzzle of the day. Let's have a look at all of them. Stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing I just want to mention just before we start this video is apologies for not uploading for the past few days. The main reason why I wasn't able to do it is I had a network outage in my area for a couple of days, and when that happens, because I've been publishing trying to publish every single day, you lose a little bit of momentum, and of course for myself it kind of felt like, okay, all right, that's now 2 days lost. Okay, it becomes free. Then I had a few days where I was playing chess competitions and playing chess matches. So, it didn't make sense to then do loads of chess and then do even more chess on top of that. So yeah, it kind of got to a point where I just kind of decided, okay, I will stop uploading for a little bit until I have got more free time. I still don't really have too much free time at the minute. I'm quite busy this week, but I'll try my best now to catch up at the very least with the chess.com daily puzzles. So here we are with the first position. Really cool puzzle, this one. You'll notice that it looks like it's a winning position for white. The main imbalance here being is that this king is stuck in the center and white has got loads of pieces surrounding the black pieces. So it seems like a tactic should be on the horizon here. Now the problem is, of course, we would love to play a move like knight to e5 in this position, but this bishop can just simply take back. So just to show you what that looks like. And okay, sure, you're going to get a rook in the center here, but actually black seems to stabilize okay here. A move like king to c8, for example, seems to do all right. And yes, you pick up a pawn over here, but it's just not going to be an amazing position. Knight to a6 can be played. The king seems to escape. So we need to find something a bit more forcing. And bear in mind here, I should mention that black is actually still down a pawn in this particular position despite all the exchanges. So he needs to come up with something very forced here. So this idea doesn't work, but I wonder if there's a way that we can deflect this bishop away from this defense of this particular square. And once you start looking into those ideas, you begin to realize that the really powerful move here that does that is the move rook to e7 check. A really powerful forcing move. The black, if the black bishop were to take back, you can now play the move knight to e5. You've got a winning position. This is actually the solution and how this game continues. The king comes to e8. You take here on f7. After king takes, you've not quite yet recovered all the material, but after you take here, king takes over here, then you can pick up a rook in the corner quite easily. That's one really nice solution to win this particular position. So a really nice little puzzle there, just to show you the power of forcing moves against black's position. Let's have a look at puzzle number 2. Okay, so here we are with our next puzzle. So this one actually comes from a real game. This was between Leok van Wely, a very strong Dutch grandmaster, and was playing against Suzanne Polgar, who also is a very strong women's grandmaster. Oh, actually, not even just a women's grandmaster, a grandmaster in general, because there's obviously separate titles. So anyway, it doesn't matter. She was also a very strong female grandmaster, and in this particular position, we have her with the black pieces trying to attack white here. Now, one thing to mention about this position when trying to solve it, and just in positions in general, is that pass pawns are a really big imbalance in the position, and these pass pawns are no exception. You might think, yes, it is just a pawn and it is worth 1 point materially, but when you've got a pass pawn that's almost ready to promote on the final square, then the value of these pass pawns just suddenly skyrocket, and we should consider and take this into account that this is worth a lot more than just 1 point. Potentially become a queen. There's no queen, gives us 9 points. Now it's quite difficult in how we push this pass pawn though, because it looks as though there's a few things happening. Firstly, black's rook is under attack, and if we play a move like rook to c8, which does look like it allows this pawn to come down, then the bishop can take over here, and white is doing absolutely fine here. So we need to come up with something a little bit more forcing in this position. You may also try, I'm trying to think of some other potential, no, okay, I've forgotten what that other solution was. But yeah, so the solution to this one is realizing, okay, the potential of this pawn is enormous. We need to push it. So we push now to c2. So hopefully you found this solution. Now, the problem here for black is there isn't many good moves here. If he takes this rook, for example, now this allows a really powerful move, that is rook to b1 with check. The point of this is that white is pretty much forced to take back with the rook, where we promote to a queen, because if they do anything else in this position, let's say, oops, let's go back up to here. Let's say, for example, they go up to g2, then we simply pick up this rook, and what's really annoying for white in this position is that he's got no good moves here. Essentially, black is going to promote on the next move and get a winning position. So a really nice little puzzle showing you the power of a passed pawn. When you've got a passed pawn, passed pawns need to be pushed, and here we've pushed our pawn to then win this position. Okay, so puzzle number 3, this one actually came from the 2nd of February, quite a funny little one, this one, and hopefully find it quite humorous. I think the puzzle solution was something called Around the World in 4 Corners, I think it was something like that, or Around the World, or Around the, I don't know, I can't remember, but it was something like that, and hopefully that should have given you a good, hint as to what the solution is to this one. Now, essentially, the tricky thing for black is he wants to play the move rook to h1, but the knight defends it. However, as you start to realize, black has got enough pieces to maybe do this. Okay, it doesn't look like he's got with the 2 rooks, but could he potentially bring in some reserves to continue the attack? And once you realize this, the solution actually to this one is really quite easy. Just look for this forcing move, rook to h1. Okay, so you play it anyway. After knight takes on h1, you take on h1, king takes, and it looks like everything is all over for black, because he's not been able to break through, except he has another forcing move, queen to h8 with check. King comes to g1, and now we can continue the attack with a check. King comes over, the knight does a really good job in defending this escape square, and now we can play the queen to h1. Quite a cute little puzzle. Hopefully you're able to find that rook sacrifice to win this position. Okay, so we now come on to the harder puzzles. This was the Saturday puzzle, came out on the 3rd of February. I will be honest with you, this one was a tough one. I think it was actually even harder than the Sunday puzzle, this one. And it's tricky because you've got very few material in this position, and there's lots of ways that you could go wrong where black is going to end up forcing a draw quite easily. So just to give an example, one quick line that maybe a lot of you might have played thinking that looks like a pretty good move is playing the move bishop to b5 here. And you might be thinking, okay, well, it does attack the queen, and if he takes, we can take back with the knight. The problem here is now this is a simple draw. King takes on b5, and black is able to force a simple drawing sequence here. So we've got to be really careful with how we move our pieces. Now, you'll notice that this black queen has not got a huge amount of squares it can go to. And our hope is essentially we want to try and create almost like a mating net with the pieces that we've got and try and dominate this queen here on a4. So the solution to this one is actually a check here, but you need to be very precise as to which check you are going to do. So the correct one is knight e to c2, but let's just explore a little bit some of the other checks. Here, if let's say you come to d5 with check, then the king comes up to a5, and there doesn't seem to be any more checks available to white. The king has escaped. You could try another one over here, let's say, but now what's really interesting about this is the king can actually take this knight off the board. After the king recaptures, what's embarrassing for white here is now this pawn can promote. You can push down on c2 and then promote on c1. So you've got to be super careful. Black has got some counter chances to win this position. So going back, a really nice tactic there from black. So instead, we don't want to play this particular move, and it should also be mentioned that we shouldn't play the move knight here. The problem with this is, again, black has got some sturdy defenses here, namely just playing the king to a5, and what again, black's king kind of escapes, and you can use this queen to then roam around the board and at least force a draw here. I mean, he's already threatening this sort of stuff already. That looks pretty nasty. So let's say a check over here. Then king comes over to a6, for example. Knight to b2 could be played in this position, and I guess you can't obviously take because of the what's it called, the discovery check from the bishop. But again, black can do this move, and it's really annoying because once again he's going to be able to force a draw after you take. Then you've got two knights, and you would think two knights should be enough in this position, but actually it's not. The pawn has to be a H pawn or an A pawn for it to then be a draw, because you can then force, there's various sequences where you can force the king into the corner and then win the game. But again, these are very rare positions and quite tricky to win these. So again, you've got to be super cautious how you continue this position. So that is why, if I go back all the way over here, we need to play this move. Okay, now if king goes to a5, which is one solution, then you've got a very powerful waiting move here, and it essentially creates a very nasty threat for black to have to deal with, and that is the move king to c5. Why is this move so powerful? Well, essentially we've created what you can see appears to be a mating net around black. So just to give you an example, if in this position he plays, I don't know, let's say I move the queen over here as an example. Well, now we can play the move bishop to b5, and essentially we are threatening just a simple threat of coming to b3. Now the queen could stay on this diagonal, come over here for example, but it doesn't matter, as even though you can come over here, you can now play the move knight to c6 with check. And essentially what is happening here is that the black queen will have to give itself up, and then we can win the position through there. By the way, I should mention that the bishop and knight combination is winning. You will need to pick up this pawn, obviously, but this position is now a win for white. Okay, we just obviously need to know that particular ending is tricky, by the way, I should mention. Okay, so going back then to our initial position. So instead, black may try to stay on this diagonal, but now we have a check with our knight over here. And at this point, it doesn't really matter what black does. If he comes to a4, for example, we can throw in a check. By the way, I should mention that this is going to end in a mate in 10 now. King comes there. Now we can play rook 6 to d4 check, king to b2. And at this point, once the king has been pushed away from all of our pieces, we can now safely take this queen over here. We now have a winning position. Quite a cool little puzzle. Lots of things going on. I think this one is one of those ones you need to explore quite a bit and kind of play around with some of the solutions. I've only really offered maybe a couple here that I thought was quite interesting, but at the very least, have a look at yourself and then see where you went wrong. But really hard sequence, a really tough puzzle, that one. Okay, now this one is a really beautiful one, and it comes from another real game. This was actually from 2016, the play between Andrea Stukopin versus Ilya Nieznek, I think is the name. I completely mispronounced it. Now it's funny, when I saw the name of this puzzle, I thought potentially this must come from a Nezhmatinov game, as it had the name of like making a mating Zhnet or something, which is essentially like a play on words with this person's surname. But as I say, this turns out to not be from that, and this was a position that was played by Stukopin against Ilya Nieznik. So this particular one is a really cool Sunday puzzle. I was happy to be able to solve it. It is quite hard, but I wouldn't say it was as difficult as the Sunday one. So in this position, essentially black has got a very powerful position, but he has only got a bishop and a queen left to try and defeat black. So black is clearly winning materially here. However, black's king is not safe at all. And it should also be mentioned that once again, the passed pawn here plays a big theme in this particular puzzle. and we need to kind of think about a way that maybe we can push this forward, because if we can promote this to a queen, we've then got a winning position. It should also be mentioned that black has got some counterplay in this position, namely he's also got this pawn all the way over here, and so maybe potentially black can create some counterplay. So just to kind of, I guess, maybe give you an example, but I can't really think of a good one here. But anyway, this is an interesting position anyway to have a look at. Now, one of the challenges for white here is he would love to play the move queen to g8 here. The problem is the king can run up to e7, and it doesn't matter what white does in this position. You could put in a check, for example, here. The king can just take on d6, and everything seems okay for black. He's managed to defend the position. He's still guarding this f8 square with his 2 pieces, and it doesn't look like white's attack has been successful. He could try something like this to try and push the pawn down, but I think a simple way of dealing with this is either taking with the rook, and you at least get a drawn position after all of this, just to show you that that's a drawn position with the opposite colour bishops. It turns out actually that black has got an even better move, which is playing the move bishop to g7. Actually stops this pawn from promoting. So going back to here, we need to come up with something really strong, and we saw already that the king coming to e7 seems to be a problem. That's why we actually have to play a really powerful quiet move here that prevents the king from coming to e7, and that is the move, the pawn sacrifice, pawn to d6. Now it should be pointed out firstly, if the rook were to come here, you have got check, and if the king to e7, yes, you can pick up the queen, but there's an even more powerful move. I'm going to reveal it just yet, because there's an even better move here. That's what happens in the other solution. So just going back for a second, rook takes there, doesn't work, but if queen takes, and this is how the solution continues, you've got a beautiful sequence now. Okay, queen to g8 with check, king comes to e7, and it looks as though white's attack is running out of steam. How do you continue this? Well, of course, you play the move queen to e8 check. Oh, so powerful. Point being, the king cannot move anywhere. You're forced to take here, and then pow. Okay, you've got a dovetail mate with pawn promotion with the checkmate. Such a cool position, this one. So I hope you managed to solve that. Let's have a look at the final puzzle for today, and then we will do our finishing comment. Okay, here's our final one, a little bit of an easy one today because this is the Monday puzzle. So I want to go finish off a little bit with this one. Now, this particular one, you'll notice here that white has got a good position here, but he's down a pawn. He's got this bishop pair and various things, and he would love to play a move like bishop to e4, which would then create this nasty skewer. The problem is this knight is defending this particular square, so we need to do something about it. That's why the solution to this one is pretty straightforward. You first take this knight, and after the bishop takes, you can now play the move bishop to e4. The point being here is now we've created this nasty looking skewer here, and unfortunately black has got no good moves here. He can't come here because the knight defends the square, or here because of the pawn. So if he comes to, let's say, c5, for example, we can then just pick up the rook in the corner. A pretty simple, pretty straightforward puzzle, just showing you the power of removing the defender from that. A really, really good tactic to remember, especially to be able to apply to your games. So there we go. Those are the puzzles today. I hope you enjoyed them. Apologies, as I say, for not uploading for a long time. I'll try and catch up with the American Chess Magazine, because they do actually advertise my channel quite a bit, and I'll try and see if I can catch up with those. Those ones take a little bit longer to produce those videos, because I obviously have to go through a lot more solutions, a lot more different things, whereas chess.com ones are a little bit easier to explain, as quite often they are common themes to talk about, whereas the other ones there, like compositions, you've got different composition themes, like Novotny's, and I think, what's the other one called, Grimshaw mates and stuff. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you for watching anyway, and I hope you enjoyed these puzzles, and I'll hopefully see you soon in future videos. Take care. Bye.